percentage of country budgets for gender equality or MDG 3 versus cost of not doing so. I know it's kind of funny formulation.
Yeah, but it's related to mitigate climate change.
I can make it specific to not just gender equality, but specific to
in relation to
I think
climate change mitigation and adaptation.
Sorry, it's got a bit messy.
No, but it's a
challenge, but I think if you don't,
it's
address it.
We will try to formulate something.
Do you want to go through quickly through what we've got to see if it makes sense?
Yeah, perfect. Would you like to move a little bit closer?
And also if I...
You can also take them also.
So I think what we have, it's some very roughly, we said that, whatever we are saying needs to be accompanied by, you right, Kate? No, okay, sorry. Need to be accompanied by, you okay? Need to be accompanied by concrete cases and examples so that it kind of fleshes out the information for those who are supposed to take it on and follow, both in the Manila Declaration, but also in what people are taking home, in terms of ideas and suggestions. We started from some of these ideas coming out of Belgium, etc., of the need to integrate the gender equality considerations, targets, into the policy and into the agencies that at the moment deal with either sustainable development, environment, or in different countries they might add different terms. This very specific notion around individual pollution rights and obligations, if you like, that's the other way around. I only capture this question of CO2 emission certification in the context of Europe, and then this was particularly for the private enterprises, but we haven't quite linked it to kind of to a gender aspect of it. But I thought it was important to capture some of the more generic propositions. And then this question that came out of applying the gender mainstreaming, I put it in inverted commas because I never learned gender mainstreaming. But we know what we mean. The UN initiatives to programs dealing specifically with climate change, energy, and everything related to, infrastructure, it's kind of transport, all of that. Agriculture. So the sectors where on one hand gender is least penetrated, and on the other that got the biggest implications for climate change. We had again at the national level in northern countries to ensure women's participation in energy choice and energy and mitigation policy choices, if you like, in light of what we were saying, that the majority, 70% of women make decisions concerning the household level around energy, about expenditures in the household, but nothing at the formal level of policy making. We really could find out something. It's nobody's fault that we don't know, but we really need to find out a little bit more, perhaps. Then we had something about the need to integrate similarly a gender perspective and a women's participation, I would say a gender equality perspective in urban planning, in transport and related sector in our hometowns and countries, and also women's participation in the decision making. We had particularly on the way in which carbon credits are used so that the benefits go directly, don't stay kind of floating at the top, but that actually the benefits reach directly, not in an indirect kind of trickle-down effect way, poor households and specifically poor women. And for the same purpose that benefits reach poor households and particularly poor women, the need to ensure that the relevant ministries such as energy, environment, and again transport, etc., coordinate for those responsible for international cooperation. Because otherwise the two are not, what we do at home and what happens in our development efforts don't match. We had also a separate discussion around this that we had collected quite a lot of interesting ideas. Then we had some kind of pretty scrappy ideas around a number of important issues. One is the responsibility for northern governments to finance adaptation, this calculation of 50 billion per year, I don't know, both directly and through transfer of technology to developing countries. This is what we kind of struggled a little bit around Paris Declaration and Dakar and Doha and all of that, an infinite series of conferences. In terms of the gender equality purposes being fulfilled through Paris Declaration principles and practices, but we don't have a language yet, and we need to find a language that, where the Paris Declaration is not contradicting with, its 5 principles. Even if they forgot about gender in it, we won't forgive them for that. And then this question about the existing UNFCCC funds and adaptation funds that must have some kind of stipulation on gender. And we were saying on this that we need to be very specific on that. So we need to go back to our documentation and say, what are we saying should happen? Is it a percentage? Is it a mechanism we are calling for? And also this question about doing a cost-benefit analysis to identify, on one hand, the kind of cost of not ensuring gender consideration in mitigation and adaptation policies and work, what that would cost of not doing so versus what it would cost actually of preventing it.
Just to quote a figure, it was in the Asia Pacific MDG update report 2007, where they said persistent gender inequalities is costing the region $58 to $77 billion a year. Powerful figure.
Yeah.
So we need calculation. We need to these figures need to be. You need to be able to break them down and say, how do you get there? Because otherwise people dispute it. But it's a report done by the US Economic ESCAP. But again, it reappears in joint publication from ESCAP, UNDP, Asian Development Bank. It's endorsed. So, I would expect that they have gone into the calculation. But if we have figures like this, we can make a demand. We can place a demand and say, listen, it's not just a moral obligation, but it's costing you. And this costs, it's money we don't have to really change the way we do things.
And maybe an interesting link is that to maternal mortality, because maternal mortality is the MDG that, and we know the cost of maternal mortality, and I think a lot of, even CSW coming up, although it won't address maternal mortality, the problem of care, I don't know, there's a lot of concern being expressed on
that. Well, it's very high on the agenda. It was high in New York with the NDG summit.
So some link to maternal mortality maybe.
Okay, thank you so much for summing up. And thank you all for all your inputs. I think it's now time to have a little break and also to shall we continue with small groups or first have a break?
Let's have a break and then we can see
quarter of an hour or something like that. I lost my glasses. If anybody I was thinking that these were yours. I thought I'm going to look for them. So there's no break now? No. 15 minutes break and then